Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back, everyone, to the Humans Plus Agents podcast. My co host here, Steve Cunningham, the founder of Humans Plus Agents. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, Jackie. Good to be back with you again.
Nice to see you too. And my name is Jackie Schwab. I'm the head of operations over at Humans Plus Agents. And we have had a big week. We've got a lot of great stuff done. And I think one of the biggest unlocks of our week has been our respective operating systems, what we're calling them. So CEO operating system. So I'd love if that works out for you, maybe that's something we can start out and share with the audience.
Yeah, let's do it. So where do I actually even start with this? I'll share my screen because that's probably the easiest thing to do and just start talking through it. So as as you know, Jackie, we've been doing a lot of work using Claude Cowork, which is I give for everybody if that's a new term for you, it's a layer on top of Claude Code. And it's essentially the fulfillment of the promise that everybody will have agents. It's like an agent that does work for you. And for those of you who were waiting to get the Windows version, it's like it's out now. So that happened pretty quickly. And so now everybody can do this. Currently, Claude is the only one that has this type of setup. Um, OpenAI has Codex, which is sort of not the same. It's not as intuitive, still mostly built for developers. So Claude is the only place where you can do exactly what we would talk about here today. And as we started using it, we are taking on more and more developer-like activities, like having a file structure on your computer, which you push to production. And so I've had very different variations of this over the last 30 days. And the current version of it is, which I think was the third iteration of this. This is an old structure that I had, I think, in the second week that we were operating. And in the first one was like way worse than this one. And this one was really hard for me to use and find things. And now I got it structured like the value chain of the business and see if I can make that a little bit bigger. And so I have strategy, products, marketing, sales, operations, IT, finance, HR, admin, legal, continuous improvement, and this is just an extra invoices thing, which is not really relevant to the system as a whole. And I have up here my chief of staff, which is what I load into Cowork every time I start doing work. It's got a bunch of instructions on it, and the instructions tell the Claude, in this case, exactly how I like to work. It's got a bunch of rules in it, which gets continuously updated over time as I find more and better ways of doing the work that I'm doing with Claude Cowork. Um, I would say, so I was on a podcast like a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago. My ability to understand time is warped because we get so much stuff done now. Um, and the guy
Agreed.
yeah, the guy whose podcast I was on was actually one of our first, way back in the day, one of our first students, as we were doing our AI training. And so he's gone on to do some amazing things. And he posted our podcast and he did the whole, hey, like Steve's going to give you on this podcast, you can get Steve's setup and comment for it. That the whole LinkedIn thing. So he did that. And then somebody commented, yeah, but like, is this real? Like, what about all the rework that has to happen? Like, it's not, these LinkedIn things are never real. And my response to him was, I just want to point this out before we dive into the specifics of this, because I am multiple times a day shipping things into production that previously would have taken weeks to do. You're doing some things that previously would have been impossible to do. This is not like we have a nice, cool demo. This is like we're actually doing this in our work day to day. We do have some cool demos, but like that, a cool demo now is just one of like hundreds of things that we've shipped into production. So that's the first thing I want to point out. This has massively transformed the way our business operates. And actually, before we're done the podcast today, we'll talk about like we are actually going to have like a state of the union with our team on Monday, and we are going to be operating differently. All right, let me give you a tour of the structure, and then I'll give you a chance to talk because I feel like I could probably talk for 3 hours on this. So, where I've done a lot of the work in the last little bit is in our marketing folder, um, because we're doing a lot of new products and we're doing a bunch of marketing around it. And so, this is the file structure that is kind of I like the most dialed in, let's say. So what I have here is a goals. So what are our goals in this area? So we're thinking about this almost like a how you would do a cascading goal setting exercise. So having goals in the folder is a very important, and we've not really even talked a lot about this because we're moving so fast. But I think the the ability for the AI to understand not only like the task that we're doing, but also its overarching goal, because they're so smart now that it will keep your goals in mind as it's going. And I've already had conversations with it where I'm trying to get it to go down a rabbit trail one direction, and it will remind me like, well, that's actually like counterproductive to our goal. So maybe we rethink that. So that was a huge learning for me this week, that setting this up like a company and how a company actually operates is the thing that will help you unlock the speed gains that you will get by doing this. So then we have advisors, which would be like frameworks that you trust in order to make good decisions. So the example I use quite frequently is I like the building a story brand methodology, A, because it's a methodology, and B, because it makes sense. And so as I'm working with the AI, it will always give me back decisions that we're making together in those terms. So it is something that's familiar to me. And it's maybe not as important to the ultimate outcome, but it is important to the outcome of I need to feel comfortable that we're making good decisions together as we're working. And so every functional area, you choose a few trusted frameworks in that area, and boom, you've got um, basically like the world's leading experts in that area working for you, helping you make good decisions. Once you make a decision, agents are essentially uh, long running tasks that string together multiple tasks. And eventually, in our case, the way we set them up is that they produce a deliverable, because the deliverable is the fundamental unit of how knowledge work gets done. And you can sort the knowledge work into different things. You could do it by task, you could do it by processes. But the thing where there's like an actual thing to look at and you can say, is this good or not? Is this right or not? Is this broken or not? Is a deliverable. So PowerPoint presentation that you send, a memo that you send, a web page that you produce, a contract review with red lines, like those are deliverables that you would actually create, and we can look at it and say, okay, is this good work or not? So the agent goes off and does a whole bunch of that work, and we can talk about the details of what an agent includes if we want. Then projects, and this is the most interesting one, because like here's my timeline, and I just started using this particular version of my operating system on January 25th, and these are all projects that previously would have taken weeks to get done if I was doing them in the old way, and compressing them down into a ridiculously short amount of time, and they get shipped. So this, we're holding an event in Hawaii, which I think I'll talk about by the end. Here's a project that I was working on this morning, getting customized, what are essentially, I guess, with sales proposals at people for that. And we're only 2 hours in a day. Now you and I have been doing a whole bunch of other work as well. So it's like that got done, plus a whole bunch of other stuff got done. And so what you do in a project is you work with your AI. If you have an agent, you will use the agent. But one of the coolest things about doing this by project is I'm creating a work history for all the things that I've done. So now I can go back and say, okay, how did I used to do the work over here? How did it improve over time? And so three real, I try to find one where I do this particular, the one I can always find, because I don't have so many projects in the IT folder, is this like security review. So I always do It's a wrap up of the project. And so at the end of the wrap up is basically um, we look at how much work got done, and then a couple of very specific things that it was actually not a good example. I'm going to try to find a better one. Um, see what we pull up here. Um, darn it. This is just like we're doing this live, not scripted, so you're gonna struggle with the mistakes as we go along. Where's another wrap up? Let's see this one. There we go. All right. So that's which one was this? That was the code review. So that wasn't the security review. So we created an invoice. Like this is how much this would have cost me if I hired an outside firm to do this work. Remember, I have no business doing a code review as somebody who's a non-developer. But we did it. We looked at it. We brought it to our team, and there was a bunch of things that we had to fix, and we did them. The thing that's the most interesting about like this as a compounding continuous improvement machine, which is really what this operating system allows us to do, is as I was going through it, I had made many different, like, it gave me some information, and I said, well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's fix it in this instance, but also let's make sure we bring that back into the system so that we don't have to make this decision again or we don't get this wrong again. And so, to update this case, there was three different things that, as I was doing the work, that both the AI and I decided, okay, we're going to make an improvement here. The even better part about it was at the end of the wrap up, I say, well, this is just baked into the agent that runs each project. Is what improvements should we make that I did not ask you about? So go review the project, see what we did, and make improvement suggestions for what we did not talk about. And so I will just look at those at the end of the project. And when I say end of the project, it's weird because it's like 30 minutes, right? It's not like 2 weeks. It's not like we're having a meeting about a project review. It's like I'm going to press a button and the project review happens. And so mostly I'll just go through these and I'll say, yep, those all make a lot of sense. And I'll hit a button. I'll say, go. Gotta go make the system better again. I'll go get a coffee or to go check my emails while it's happening. And now I got a better system at the end of 30 minutes. So this system for me compounds multiple times a day, which is not the way that I thought I would be operating in 2026 if you asked me in September of 2025. Like it's amazing. Then we have so projects, then we have context. So the context is where all the context files live, so the agents can reference them as they're doing the work. This gets bigger over time as we realize, well, we didn't have the right context as we were running the agents, so let's make another context file. Signals, which in this case it's empty because I've created this structure this week. This would be where all of the data sources come in, and actually I'm basically renaming context into signals because there's other things that's not necessarily a context file. It would be like MCP server connections, API calls, like all the things that the agent would need in order to do the work, which will include context, but it's not all context. And then lastly, shipped. This is one that we'll actually talk about as a team on Monday. As we go along, we make things up that we think will be helpful to the system. And shipped would be what actually got shipped in this project today, which I think includes things that went on a website or was an internal file that we created and shared with each other. But also, and I think this is one is going to be critical for us, it's what did we learn today? So you learned a massive amount of stuff as we were doing that project that you've been working on. And I'm assuming I've heard about 5% of them, maybe less. And so the ability to like ship learnings into the system is going to be, I think, one of the competitive advantages that we have, so that everybody, like, if you learn something today, and this has always been the goal in like a learning organization, like if you learn something today, tomorrow, like everybody should know about it. Like it should, at least everybody should have the opportunity to learn about it. And so I think that's going to be a huge improvement for our next version of the platform and the operating system. And then to talk about what and I've actually had Chang do like a half an hour side quest on this already, which is rather than publishing these things one by one in Signal inside of the platform, that you would check in your repo every day as just a folder drag, and that overnight the AI works on what did everybody ship, what did everybody learn, what are the improvements we need to make across the board, and so that it compounds. And that was another thing that Chang was working on, which is using an AI like overnight, basically to create insights for everybody. So that's about as far down into the system that that we've gotten so far, and it's again, it's like compounding continuous improvement. We just get better and better and faster and faster. And the progress that we've made in the last just 2 weeks, progress we've made since the last time we had a podcast episode because we missed one, has been absolutely insane. And so that's my system. We can dive into some of that if you want. Also, we need to give you some time to talk about yours as well, because you had one of the cool things that we have group chats and one-on-one chats, and whenever you do something amazing, you send me a dude in all caps. And so um last
Dude moments.
yeah, the dude moments. And so you had one last Friday, which was it's so weird. It does feel like that was like 2 months ago, but
10
it was
years
just
ago.
last
Yeah.
Friday. And yeah, so I don't know. Back to you, Jackie.
Oh, that's fair. So interestingly, I love that we do this because there's a couple things that you're doing that I'm doing differently, but I was also doing. So like one of the things I learned too, I actually run a backup script on my computer every day because I've never ever been so freaked out that I would lose stuff because I've never produced so much in my entire life. So I run a backup script that has like all the backup files that I want to go to simple, and then any files that are like files that I need to ship for myself, and any client files. So I've like a repo set up that also goes the repository for non nerds that aren't technical. And then also it's set up to go to GitHub in case something happens to my computer or whatever. Like you guys could get access to everything. Um, the other thing that I had thought of too was I actually have all of my deliverables or outputs go into either a signal folder or a folio folder. So when I'm done I wrap up every project, it tells me exactly which files because they're in that folder, and then I drag them after like complete every task. So I thought that was like an interesting connect that we both do. Now you had a chief of staff operations, and I'm gonna be more nerdy because I am more nerdy and more operationally kind of like minded. But in my file structure, I actually have kind of your equivalent of a chief of staff, but I have it at 3 levels. I have initialization for the entire architecture. So I made an architecture for my file system that every time I make a change, I update my architecture doc. So my architecture doc is like my brain for my whole system, and I load that as my first thing I do in the morning. And then that's like the highest level. And then I have like my folder levels. So I have things like operations, product, projects, tools, training. So a little bit different because I'm doing a lot of how stuff versus maybe sending things into departments. Those folders each have an operation initialization. So like for operations, I never want my file revisions to be a number because I want to always upload the same file. Like your dashboards I create for you every day, I can't change the name. You've bookmarked them, right? So like that's a very specific instruction for that project or that folder structure. And then I have one per project, like you did too. So I have like the design files in each of my projects, and I have the context in each of the projects. One that I do a lot more now, and I because it's in my architecture and it reminds me, I do a lot of incremental testing. So I'll do the change, test the change, do the change, test the change, do the change, so that I don't get so far ahead of the AI, and it gives me a snapshot in time. So like I had to go to the bathroom, right? So I'll be like, give it a snapshot, and then I'll go to the bathroom or go get lunch or talk to you on some chat or something else that I need to do. The other thing is, I am an old coder, and I have an entire folder that's just called skills. And these are my projects. When I close them out, they should result in something I'm repeatedly doing. So then they go into a fully built skill. So I just run my skills. Like I have a run an action class. I have run client notes. Anything that comes in from help desk goes into my client notes. Anything that comes in from a Basecamp message goes to client notes. Any new humans plus agents I build goes into client notes. So I know everything that's happened with Jim because since January 20th, I've been capturing that kind of stuff. And then the other one I do is I literally do every morning a start operations, and it just baselines all of my dashboards, all of my help desk, all my support, everything I need to do with you, all the calls, everything. It's a baseline. I go through the day and update and do what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, I close operations and wrap up and put in a learning file. And it is just works so great for me because it makes sure I don't forget stuff. It's like, hey, you have all these files in here that you haven't uploaded yet to Signal? Oh yeah. Oh, you have these files. Did you upload them to Folio? Oh, that's right. Oh, you made this FAQ. Did you tell support about it? So it's like a like catch my brain up with my brain because things are going so fast. And I open it and close it. That's how I open my day and close my day. That's how you get a dashboard every morning with like all of the different things on it that we're doing. Um, and so again, I think yours is very CEO minded, and mine is very um, repeatable things I have to do all the time, either on demand or repeatedly because I'm doing more of the operational stuff. But yeah, so I've got very specific. I have a client set of client folders. All of that is all the client stuff I just talked about. I have context folder, and then my hub, which is my architecture docs. I have a backlog in there. I have a daily log. So everything I learn, I take a snapshot every day. It goes into my daily log. So I can easily go look and say, well, what are all the things I did? And it's like, here's what you did. And I could go, I'm so smart. This is great. Um, so I don't know if that was helpful, but like very similar to what you're doing. I also do a lot of agents. So I did I have a 200 plus set of agent builder agents I built, and then another 729 of agents I built. And all my agents are in like another set of agent builder folders, and then each big agent project. So I can easily bring those to whoever else needs them. Um, but yeah, I try not to leave a session if I don't either teach it the skill. It either needed to give me a skill that I could do repeatedly, or it needs to give me the file that I released. And then I log all of that in our system as a daily task so that everybody can see all my stuff. I don't know if that was helpful, kind of what you're doing versus what I'm doing, or if there's anything in there.
I do want to unpack one thing that you talked about.
Yeah,
So I think it's like a part of what we're trying to do with this podcast is like demystify a lot of this stuff for
yeah,
people because it's actually not that complicated. And I think so, and you can debate me on this if you like, but I think in my mind, like Anthropic has created the idea of like skills, right? Like we're going to give the AI some skills. Those are just work instructions. It's not like like I think when you think of skills, you think of like, like guy's got a good jump shot or like you can like whatever, you're a good communicator. Like those are skills that people have. Like go do this task, like what is usually what's in any skill folder. So I think a lot you could get wrapped
yeah,
up in the idea like, well, what is a skill? It's just a work instruction. And work instruction in our context is literally just an agent. So I think in our agent structure, it's just the process file that we've been either too lazy to complete as a full agent, or it's like overkill and you don't need to do a full agent every time you're doing that. So I think, and obviously I don't care what you call them on your file structure or whatever, but I think in terms of like how we communicate it to people, that's what that is. And you're just teaching, giving the AI a repetitive way of doing the work. And we're trying to literally just standardize all of the knowledge work because it can be standardized. And
Yeah,
that's where
that's
the
fair.
idea metaphor of the factory that we talk about comes in. And that's in a factory, you go pick up a binder and like it would say, here's how to do this thing. Step one, step two. This is
Yeah, I can
so
share something on that too. I would say though, skill is a very specific thing to Claude, and it registers it with Claude so it knows it versus like our agents. Some of our stuff I don't want officially a Claude skill, like kind of thing. So that's how I differentiate them. One is like Claude knows what it is with a shortcut key, and the other is, yeah, I run it on demand. I don't need to go through all that extra work of registering it. I want to show some real quick. So I so you're right. I sometimes make things sound more complicated than it is. So I told you I have like an architecture. Well, all it is a file that I continually update so that I know my rules and it knows my rules. And this is what I just talked about. So it tells me I have like two types of folders: an underscore folder, which is protected, or system folders versus ones that are shared. And then it reminds me what my folders are and where do I export them. And then I have a list of what are all of my folders and work deliverables and where do they go in and what are the things in them, which, because sometimes you just don't remember all of it or your agent won't, right? Like, because you have so much going on. And then how do I decide where something goes, right? There's a decision tree in there for both me and for the AI. Um, and then I was telling you, I initialize things at each level. Well, it tells me in my rules what that is and why I do it that way. So there's like the master level specific rules everywhere and then local rules. Um, and then it tells me at each folder what that status is. So it sounds like all kind of complicated, I guess, but it's all documented and it's all there for me to look at. And I use it every day now, so it doesn't feel as complicated as like what it might. Like even when I was saying I have destination folders, my things either go into single or folio, like because they should be in a repository. So that's a folder structures in there every time, and then I just grab and drop. And then, like I said, I have like that daily operations, which is a big deal for me. Exactly the files, they should look like this every time, what they look like. I also have the desire to be very connected to everything I'm doing. So I have when I create a file that I reuse often, it also gives me a suggestion to bookmark it. So then I have my bookmarks here. So when I'm in my Chrome, which is what I use mostly because Chrome and Claude work well together, I can just go to those things. I don't have to remember where they are, right? Like that's all of the ones for that specific skill that I built. And so I built that in, right? Tell me about this so I don't have to remember. Um, and then sometimes you get caught up in, oh, what's the difference between a tool and an operation? What's in a README file? What are my conventions? What do I export where? Where's my backup and where does it go and where's the file at? And I know it sounds again like a lot, but I document it because I won't remember it. I'm doing so much so fast and every day that I need a brain that's my brain outside of it, and that's like what's helpful for me. And then I even have a life cycle of all the files. When do I keep them? When do I archive them? What does that archive look like so that it's always the same kind of archival? And what that looks like for each of the different types of tasks. I prefix my work all the same way. So pretty much, and like if I were to add to that, if I were opening Chrome right now, but I'm not, I even name my tasks in Chrome according to this structure. So I'll call it project, and then I'll make a bar, and then whatever my project name is, bar, and that way, and some description. So everything in Chrome matches everything in Cowork, matches everything in my actual file structure that I'm doing. And for me, that again, it sounds like a lot, but it's documented and it reminds me to, so I don't have to remember to be different or remember to remember, which is really helpful. So I don't know if that is supportive or not in terms of like more detail of what I'm doing, like really doing.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk about that when we wrap up around like the difference between my system and your system and why as a company you probably want both in existence and in some way you're becoming like our chief bottleneck remover. So there's an operational bent to what you do that is different than what I'm going to be doing and thinking about. Even though I'm like doing stuff all day, every day. I'm not like sitting around making just decisions and telling people what to do. So it's like the CEO version of this is actually doing stuff, not just sitting in the office and having meetings and stuff, which is for the most part a complete waste of time in this economy. Well, so I wanted to
I would say
so
that's probably an important point that I think people are going to miss, and is especially important in your like in our business. There's not a single person in our business that's just sitting there spending days writing up strategy docs and then spending another day telling everybody what the strategy is and another day to, like we get in the morning and we're working. Like you're building stuff, I'm building stuff. We're exchanging learnings, we're exchanging goals, or we're exchanging, yeah, higher level strategy, but like that's even evolving to some degree. Um, so there's no one in our company that's not doing, like everybody's building every single day, which is why I think some of the organization is important. And um, you do have to organize it in a way that you can work with too. Like I wouldn't be as effective, I don't think, trying to work in maybe your structure as I am in the structure that I've worked on. I actually worked with Claude and said, identify the patterns of how I'm working. Look at every file in my file system. Like I did some real like deep head thinking about how I work and the patterns of work. Um, but right, we're both working. Like there's no Steve just tells me what to do in the morning and then we go off and do it. That doesn't work that way.
yeah, I think the cycle time is just so compressed that it just changes the way you do work. Like we're on Monday, we're gonna blow up. Like we used to have meetings all Monday morning, like for like 3 hours, and like that's done, no more. So I know you're gonna be happy about that, but it's like it's just extremely unproductive now, and you don't realize it while you're doing it. Like, but while you're doing it in like the old way, it feels productive because that's what we've always done, and we're talking and we're like sometimes we make decisions and so it feels good. But like now that you can operate like this, like whenever somebody asks me for more than 15 minutes of my time, I'm like, what do you want? Like there's no way I cannot, I don't want to give you more than, I don't even want to give you 15 minutes kind of thing. Unless we're doing something like this where it's like this is for us producing content and shared understanding. Like this is productive because it has a reason to do it. Um, so, okay. I have so many things I want to talk about. I feel like this is going to be an ongoing problem week over week. Let me,
That's
but
okay.
I do want to talk about the the idea that I told you I had Chang looking at because I think
Yeah.
this is maybe like a peek behind the curtain for some folks, and we might as well get some work done while we're here. Like we can talk about something that we're going to make decisions on. So I think I was thinking through initially one of our ideas was we're going to do it's like well, what is and I've had this idea for like I don't know maybe 7 or 8 years. Like what is the GitHub for knowledge work? It's like it seems like there should be something like that.
Mhm.
And we started down the road of using Git to do a lot of our stuff. Um, so I want to make an analogy to Folio. So Folio was like my, as I like to say, space pencil version of like how do we get something published on the internet like fast, which we then turned into Signal. So now we can publish just drag and drop things. So like that was like a space pencil type of solution. And I was just talking through with Chang. I was like, how do we, like, I want Jackie's, because you talk about like you're saving your files, you're putting them somewhere so that if you get hit by a bus, like the company gets the value. And that's like, I want the value. It's right. Like, in part, that's the value that system you're creating is creating value for the business. So I want it in the business.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was talking to him and we're like, well, how do we get that done? Like, and how do I know like how everybody is doing their work? Not, and in most companies, this would come off as like a surveillance thing. And I think, as you know, like for me, it's never a surveillance thing. It's like, how do we help people get better? Um, but if we had all of the files from everybody every day and you check them in and we could look at them and we could see, we can coach people, we can use the AI to make better decisions about things that are going on. That would be helpful. So I was talking to Chang and we talked about how could we do that. And at first it was like, well, we need to make a desktop app to connect. And so part of it was like, we don't want to do all the Git stuff. Like the GitHub is way too complicated for the regular old knowledge worker, and including me. It's like I give up on that stuff. Um, but a simplified version of it would be to just store whatever today's version of your file structure is on a platform. That's like one step in that direction. And for most knowledge workers, that is actually because I know we built Folio and built Signal. That's really easy. You just drag a folder into the thing and you hit a button and it's done. There's nothing else you need to do. And so I had the
That's
knowledge of,
funny.
we talked about
Yeah,
it,
I
right?
created the folder.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think I did the first part, right? So I actually download every day my folder and it's zipped.
Yeah.
So now we just need to connect it to Chain.
Right. So like,
It's cool.
but I think the idea is like there's just a new tab in the interface that's like your daily work or your daily folder structure. You do it. It's almost like the checkout of the day. When you're done, you sync your folder. That's it. And it's just boop, boop, done. So that like previously we're gonna like think about we gotta make a desktop app and like you gotta like connect with the Apple ecosystem and like then we gotta like don't even know how to do Windows because clearly that's harder because every tech firm launches with Apple first and Windows second if it works. Like so I was like, no, there's gotta be an easier way. And of course it was with AI, like dialoguing with AI. I was like, well, you could just do this like a drag and drop thing, just like Folio, just like the other thing you made. So it was like, yeah, well, that's it. And now where the idea is like, well, what is everybody doing all day? How are they create what instruction, what skills do they have in their folders to help them do their work? All of those things can be made very visible if you just work in a file structure. And we will do this next week. Like everyone is going to work in a file structure. And at the end of the day, you sync it into the platform and now we get better. So I think that's like none of these things are obvious beforehand. And I think this accumulation of like so many small decisions that we're making. But as I like to say, and this is a ripoff from somebody else's quote, action produces information. You don't know until you do it. And we learn by doing. And each time you do something, a new thing comes up and you solve that problem and you solve the next one. And eventually you're much further down the road. So I think so. First of all, how does it seems like you were nodding your head as I've been talking. So I assume that's like you're on board with that idea. But it seems like that would be like we're gonna give Jenny coaching on something about how to do this. Like we need to see it. And we struggle with that. I'm sorry, like this week I'm just like full of thoughts in my brain that need to come out. Like when we're on calls with consultants, right? There it's always like, well, I have this problem. And we're like, well, show me or give me like a specific, like I can't help you in this vague general way. Like I need to see it. Most of the time that stops the question because they just have this vague general like question that's not a good question. But when they do, when you share, look, now I can actually help you solve your problem. So if I saw the work, we could coach people. And it's like that's an instant solving of an enormous problem. So fast forward to the CEO operating system peer group and the peer group that we're going to launch for people who are working in companies like you, which is the elite AI operator. Um, it's the ability to make work visible for everybody. And that's going to be something that I think will to the extent that we make any contribution to what's going to happen over the next 12 months in how work gets done, I think like a lot of it is going to have to do with that. Not how do we, you and I do this, because we're naturally inclined to like want to do this and dig into it. But like, how do we take what we're doing and make it so straightforward and simple for people who are deathly afraid of technology and help them through that transition? So I think that's what I'd like your thoughts on.
Yeah, that was a lot of words. I would say I have a couple responses to that, and one is absolutely questions have to be specific. I think people get fearful, and so then they just start asking all of the fears out loud, but they've never actually encountered it ever. So there's no way to answer that question. Sometimes I don't even know I have that question until I'm 7 layers deep in my AI exploration. So so absolutely, and help desk tickets. I get a help desk ticket, and somebody says, I can't get in. Where? You get in where? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So I think that's good. But the other really big one that I just think is important, because I always like to, I say I always put my dirty laundry out there so people can see. I was so resistant, like vehemently resistant and defiant about documenting and logging everything I was doing. I was like, this is a waste of time. I'm already in meetings all the time. I'm already taking meeting notes all the time. I'm already logging it in our tracker. I was like super upset about it. I like did not want to do it. And now I'm like, Chang, could you add this one field so that I could log this other thing so that I could get to it later? And I think that the way we do work is different. And the way everyone's going to need to do work is different. I think we're just maybe getting there a little earlier. And when I started getting value from the organization, and when I started getting value from logging things, if that's the way to say it, and I didn't have to do it, right? Like it's being done by the mechanisms that we're creating. I would be I don't know if I could like make it through a day right now if I didn't have the organization. I'm just going too fast. I'm just building too many things. I'm solving too many problems to need to try to go rustle through all of the stuff I thought I did yesterday and find stuff. So I think that is a big one. It's like, I did not want to do it. I was like very much around the surveillance thing. And now I'm like, why aren't you guys doing this? You're making everything harder, right? Like, it's like, why is it so hard? And so I think it's cool that you had the idea and you've been talking to Chang about it. And I was like doing it on my end of it. And that will kind of come together. And that's kind of what we do, right? You sort it out, I sort it out, we break it a bunch, and then we roll it out to our team and we like implement what works. And so I think there's a lot of value into like moving that direction for sure. So those were the two. There was one other question you had asked. I don't remember what it was. We can replay it later.
I don't remember. If we were using
Uh,
AI to, which we could, we're recording this with AI, we could
yeah.
probably go and let me try that. That was one of the things I was like, we're not
Oh
using
yeah, that's
AI
right.
while we're having the conversation. So Jackie
Actually,
asks,
I have.
what
Yeah.
was my second question? And I don't know, it feels like we got to figure out how to bring AI into this conversation.
Are you in
Um,
granola? I'm typing it in
yeah,
granola.
I'm in granola. There were,
Oh,
yeah, just
we had the how do we want to do the cadence with the team meeting? Like that kind of came together already. It was like, yes, I agree that it will, I'll have to make some changes to make it work, but I agree that we should probably have some level of shared directory across the whole team. Like if everybody has a baseline so that we upload the same folder structure every single time for these types of things, that will do a lot of what you're saying, keep people unstuck. So I think that was a good one. And then we talked about your operating system, my operating system, how we set up co-work. Um, yeah, I think those are the big ones. And you kind of asked my thoughts on it. So yeah, I am I'm a convert, man. I'm a convert.
Well, because we've found ways to make your life easier, and you have a
Yes.
desire to be productive because that's in your
Yes.
DNA. So it's taken us a long time to get there because like it has been like the idea has been there for a very long time, and we're like the AI is going to help us do all this stuff, but it wasn't until about 30 days ago where it's like, well, whatever whatever we had in our heads, we can now actually do. And so like that part has just been massively accelerated. And now, and that
Yeah.
compounds. Like we solve one problem, we get to the other problem and the other problem. And so it just gets easier and easier. I think
Yeah.
one of the things like from an abstract point of view, because everybody's worried about AI. Everybody's people are going to get like lots of people are going to get fired this year, unfortunately, because the AI is accelerating very fast and how much work it can actually get done. And I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it like almost every day. It's like there's a little bit better every day. So, but if you take the view of like we want to bring people along, the cadence of like people getting trained should be you need to use AI every single day. Um, and I think this is one of the things we don't have time for because I know we're already running out of time. There's an idea that it like last year it was offensive to say you must use AI in your work or you're fired. That was offensive. It's not offensive anymore because everybody has said it out loud. You must use AI in your work or you're going to be fired. In not every company, but in lots of them. I think I read an article from this company called Strong DM AI, and they're building a software factory. So immediately I was intrigued. And
Right.
and on their whole like their principle, and I think you and I will talk about this offline or maybe next week, is if you're not spending $1,000 per day per engineer on tokens, your software factory is not optimized or there's room for improvement. And so that's a very extreme example because that would be $30,000 of tokens per month per engineer. And you are hitting up limits on the $200 a month plan. I am struggling to run up against limits on the $200 a month plan. I'm trying. But I think just probably by the end of 26 is like if you and I can feel this as like as a CEO and it's if by the end of 26 if you're not productively spending $200 a month worth of tokens like well, you can't be here. So, but it's not in a sense of like figure it out. It's gonna, like how do we solve it? Every single day we show up and we coach people and we solve problems together. We don't do it once a quarter. We don't send them off to a training. It's like we show up and we by 10 o'clock, if you got a problem, let's fix it. So I think there's a lot of fear around it. But if you're working in a company where people care about you, they will train you in your
Yeah.
work. Like that's the whole thing of like going off to do a course is probably not the right thing to do. It's like do your work, solve problems every day, get people the help they need, and do that continuously
Yeah.
and never stop.
Yeah. I would have to completely agree. It's like one point around that would be like, I honestly would tell you. So, first of all, my life changed on January 20th. That's when I downloaded finally Cowork. And I literally did a bunch of projects that I had envisioned I could do before and like got them done in hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing. But what I never realized was it's like something wouldn't even have known which courses to take because I didn't know I was going to have the problem yet. So this is super, nerdy. And if it confuses anyone, don't listen. But I've done more Google script, JavaScript creation with AI's help and Google Sheet, tab creation, all this stuff. I would have never taken a course on that. I don't even know if I'd even watched the video. But now if I do, I use it every day. I'm like updating and making projects and creating all these integrations every day. So I think there's like that just in time learning because I didn't know I needed to know it, which is really odd for me. Like I always I'm a nerd. I like to learn. I'm a continuous learner. I have a master. Like I do all these things. I wouldn't even know what class to take. I don't even know what problem I'm gonna have today
Right,
that
but
I'm gonna learn about.
this is the thing I want to point out though. It's like and you still have not taken a course on that. And it would be ridiculous for you to come to me and say, "Can I take this $1,000 course on how to do like Google Strips?" Like, well, no. Like, did you try to do it with AI and it couldn't help you? Like, I try to walk people through this idea. Like, it's as simple as try to get done what you're getting done. And if you get, and I think this goes all the way down to like the really simple problems. And like, I don't know how to drag this file into my chat. Well, no, what it's, and really smart people have like problems like this. And you can just screenshot your way through the problem. So you take a screenshot, you tell the AI, here's exactly what they always tell me, like they come to me with the problems, like, well, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying like, and I can't get it to do it. And I'm like, just say that, take a screenshot and say, what's next? And then what's next? I mean, that's how I figured out how to use the terminal. And so I got into Cloud Code. So when Cowork came, I was like, this is going to be amazing because I screenshotted my way through the problem. I didn't take a course. I could have taken a course, and that would have maybe felt better to say, I'm going to outsource my agency to somebody else. Like, even if it fails, like it's their problem, not my problem. That's a silly aside question. Just learn with AI. Like I don't know um how like static traditional learning is going to survive. Just makes no sense.
I have one wrap up comment that I'd like to share on that, and then we probably have to close it down for the day. Um, the unexpected, amazing opportunity that came out of all this for me was by creating structure and organization around what we're doing. The amount of agency that I have gained as a contributor is astronomical. Like I literally will like give me a gnarly problem, please. Like I want to go unravel the grossest problem we have because I have no fear that I won't get there. It may be longer than I wanted. It may take me down a few rabbit holes, but it shall be solved, right? Like there's no way you can convince me that I can't solve it. And that is like a serious power play. Like I can't tell you how much that makes me want to work till midnight and get up and start again at 7 because I want to solve that gnarly problem. And I think that's something for me that's really exciting is we're getting some of our agency back as contributors.
Yeah. And I think last point on that is we've been talking about agency for a long time, but you and I now, and I mean, obviously lots of other people, but
Mhm.
particularly in our organization, because we're the most in the weeds on this, and in our community, is like there is a sense of agency. There is literally no problem that cannot be solved, and I can do things 100 times faster than everybody else, which just frees you up to know like if I get a problem and I got to solve it by 12, no problem. Um,
Just get there.
let's just get it done, and that's very freeing. And those are the types of people who will succeed in this economy. If you were going to wait around for somebody else to tell you how to do it, or give you the approval to do it, or send you to a course to do it, like you're not going to make it. It's about getting in the weeds and doing the work. So are we wrapping up? Because I was going to pitch
Yeah.
like just really
Yeah, wrap
quickly
it up. Yep. Go
the
for it.
CEO operating system and the elite AI operating system or operator. Um, so we're to reinvent the way this kind of learning happens. What we're doing, maybe we can put a link in the show notes to this. We are
We will.
basically creating a peer group that gets together once a month for a full day where we give you our entire operating system. We don't give you a course. We don't talk to you about AI. We literally say, here are our files. You may now use them. Um, and by the way, also people who are coming into this peer group bring their files, and to the extent that we can convince them that they should share them, they will do the same, and we all get stronger together. And so this is a real learning by doing type of thing where we compound each other's growth and development. And if you're interested, and that sounds like something you might want to take advantage of, get my files, get Jackie's files, get the files of other elite, what we would say elite AI operators. Click on the link in the show notes, and we would love to have a conversation.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I always enjoy these podcasts with you, and I hope everyone comes back. Like and subscribe, Humans Plus Agents, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good day, sir.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.